the way these homes are being advertised, they look like these tropical paradises. And if you don't know anything about the history of Israel, Palestine, displacement, like you could think, I found my dream home. And you go to the realtor and they're not telling you anything about the history, or like about Palestinians who are just very nearby, who have lost their homes and are squatting, living in tents, or completely dispossessed, homeless.
My name is Ezgi Topar, and this is In the Newsroom, a TRT podcast production where I take you around our newsroom as I chat with my colleagues and go beyond the headlines. A new Israeli settlement project in the occupied West Bank will force around 7,000 Palestinians from their homes. Under international law, these real estate developments are illegal, as they are built on stolen Palestinian land that has been confiscated by the Israeli government for the purposes of populating the area with Israelis and Jewish people from abroad. Last week, far-right Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich approved over 6,900 new settler units in and around Ma'ale Adumim, one of the largest settlements east of Jerusalem. The plan, known as the E1 project, had been frozen for decades amid international backlash. Now Smotrich is reviving it, openly saying it will block the creation of a Palestinian state. Meanwhile, Israeli real estate companies are marketing these luxury homes on stolen land to Jewish people abroad. But just how easy is it to buy a home in an illegal settlement? For this episode, I speak with Paul Salvatori, journalist at TRT World and host of Palestine Talks. Since 2023, Paul has been investigating these settlements and even going undercover to speak with Israeli real estate agents. Hi, Paul. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much.
So, what prompted you to go undercover and take on this topic in the first place?
I was thinking about this before the interview, and I remember I was just reading on Palestine, as I normally do, and I was reading a report by B'Tselem on illegal settlements, the history of the illegal settlements. I was just thinking, has anyone actually looked at how people, once these settlements are built, how people are actually buying the homes on them? I couldn't find anything, and so I thought, why not sort of go down the rabbit hole and see what's out there? Is there a real estate system? Where is it? How do they operate? Because if these settlements are illegal, how would it be that these companies are allowed to operate, whether in Israel or abroad? Yes.
You were interested in figuring out how easy it is to purchase a home in this illegal settlement.
Right.
So can you kind of walk us through the process that you went through step by step and how far along you've gotten?
It's easy, but it's not easy. I know that sounds like a contradiction, but let me explain. So it's easy in the sense that the information is public. So it's not like you have to go into an underground hidden universe to find these companies that are doing the selling, but they don't really publicize themselves because they have a very target demographic. They're looking to sell these homes specifically to Jewish people, not just in Israel, but internationally. They have this mission, if you can put it that way, whether it's corporate or maybe more religious or messianic, to populate that land, these settlements, with Jewish people. I just kept on doing kind of this guesswork where I kept on doing variations of different searches. I started using everything, Google, Facebook. Actually, I also remember reading articles on illegal settlements where there would be the names of companies who were doing the selling were named, and then I would make a list of all those, and then once I was able to do that, isolate their names, a lot started coming up.
So you started off with the real estate agents and
Right.
the real estate companies,
Yes.
then dived into what kind of properties they're offering.
I found companies that either expressly said they were selling in those areas or seemed to be selling based on what they were saying, and then I reached out asking whether they would be open to selling, or whether I could talk to them about purchasing property in one of those settlements.
Hello.
Hi, Esther.
Hi. How are you?
I'm okay. It's Harold. How are you?
You assumed a
I'm
different
okay.
identity
Yes.
as a Jewish American
Yes.
man. Can you talk about that persona? Why did you feel the need to take on this identity?
Well, because the first time, I'll tell you, the first time I reached out to one of the companies, I happened to mention to this person, I guess I was in the experimental phase, that I was not an observant Jewish person, but I was interested in moving there. And he like clearly intimated to me that like you couldn't sell this to me or I wouldn't be the right agent. If you could put it this way diplomatically, no, that we don't sell to people who are not observant Jews or who don't identify as Jewish, even if they were born into a Jewish family. So once that happened, I said, okay, just so this doesn't happen again, you have to just at least at the beginning say that you are Jewish. Mm-hmm. And that's really all it took because they don't really ask about.
So there were no formal checks to see if you were in fact Jewish?
Not at all. They didn't ask about my synagogue or my community or do I observe the Torah? Nothing. Nothing. There is this sort of implicit understanding that to be one of us, you have to identify as Jewish. So the character I had was a Jewish father who was very interested in buying a home for his daughter and son-in-law and their family. They didn't ask too much about it. What they did say was that there's certain like mortgages you can get like at a very good rate if you are like a new or if you're a young couple and this is your first time buying a home. So they have these certain incentives that she was sharing with me.
The incentives Paul mentions are put in place by the Israeli government and companies to encourage Jewish people to settle into the occupied territories. Let's walk through how it happens, as Paul himself experienced with one realtor.
Investing in Israel is never a mistake.
Yes.
So never, ever, ever, ever a mistake. Even like at the worst times, people buy in Israel and even like the worst apartments on the top floor, tiny, dingy, horrible. Everything sells, so
it's a
so that's
yeah.
So that's okay.
Yeah, so the investment is a good one to make.
Always in Israel, always.
The name of the settlement that she was selling in is Mahali Adumim. It's a well-known illegal settlement, and she was selling properties in that settlement. And so I called her after getting her email from somebody in that settlement. I spoke to her at length. I'm still speaking with her, but basically she was keen on impressing on me that the reason you move here is not because it's safe or unsafe, but you have an obligation. What is the situation like in Mal Adumim right now? Is it and what does it look like? What sorts of safety measures are in place at the moment?
So Mal Adumim is pretty safe.
Okay.
But like the whole of Israel, I think is probably pretty safe now because the soldiers are out there in Judea and Samaria and in Gaza. They're fighting and just collecting up and killing terrorists because this is going to be a once and for all battle. Coming to live in Israel is ideological and it's taking a risk. No one can guarantee anything.
Yes,
you're here because you want it. You're here because you want to be, not because of anything else.
Yes. She really struck me as a person who wasn't just a realtor, but someone who was on a mission to, like, as they call it, redeem the land, get people to come, more families to come, to redeem the land, to settle with their families, to protect the settlements from encroachment. And in her mind, this land is not stolen. It's indigenous to the Jewish people. And that everyone right now, this was a discussion we had quite a bit, that everyone right now in the world, to use her language, is crazy, who is like showing solidarity with Palestine, is trying to stop the settlements. In her mind, they're living in like a whole different imaginary universe. It's like inverted reality.
Next, financial incentives are pushed. Buyers are offered stipends, tax breaks, and deductions for cars or appliances to sweeten the deal. Not to mention the homes and settlements are generally cheaper and larger than in major Israeli cities. According to research by The Intercept, a spacious home in the occupied West Bank might cost between $500,000 to $1 million, while the same in central Jerusalem could be triple the price. There are also lower living costs in the settlements compared to the U.S., so families can save on Jewish education, kosher food, and healthcare, all while enjoying the schools, parks, supermarkets, swimming pools, sports facilities, and synagogues inside the settlement.
I pressed her once to, like, as someone, I had to be careful, I didn't want to give myself away, as someone who was kind of afraid or concerned that I'm doing something that would be recognized internationally as illegal and that one day my home could be confiscated for it. And, she said, well, that's possible. Again, like this sort of ambiguity, that's possible, but it's very unlikely because all that matters is what the Israeli government recognizes, and we don't recognize it as is illegal. A very sort of us against them attitude. It's all very corporate. Palestine is never mentioned. Settlements are never mentioned. The history of that land is never mentioned. The way they talk, and even being at their webinars and seeing some of their PowerPoints, it's as if like you're just looking at homes anywhere. It could be in Toronto. This could be, you could take a real estate seminar in Toronto and put this put them side by side. The presentation from this person in selling homes in illegal settlements in Israel and someone selling in a corporate way in Toronto, and they would be like virtually identical. That to me was very eye-opening because it's so illegal, right? Like the whole world is recognizing, and for a long time, since at least 1967, that this is all illegal. But there was no like attempt to conceal. They don't have any misgivings about what they're doing. So that I would have to say.
Okay, so first of all, the whole of Yehuda Shomron and Gaza is by the League of Nations belongs to Israel.
Okay.
The only reason why, but it's not Rashom B'Tabu, because the only reason why is because if we do it, we make it completely like 100%, like without a doubt, that means all the Arabs that are living there might have to get Israeli citizenship, and we really don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
So Ariel and Ma'ale Adumim, if it will never happen, because Israel will never agree to a two-state solution, especially not now. But if, God forbid, if such a thing would happen, but Ma'ale Adumim and Ariel are not touchable.
Okay.
But in any case, if the worst comes to worst, and it is, then like the country is committed to sort of give you back, the money or the property or whatever, like to get you something somewhere else, whatever it's decided. So that's like really the worst case scenario.
Okay, well, thank you for the clarification. There were just some concerns that we're having.
Because what you hear in America is completely different, because you've got, everyone the world is pushing us to do a two-state solution. That's not going to happen.
Okay.
Like 85% of people here are not going to agree to it, number one. Number two, it's our country. They can't tell us what to do on our own land.
Mm-hmm.
This real estate agent says most Israelis oppose a two-state solution, partly because it would mean granting citizenship to Palestinians in these settlement areas. The expansion of Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank is one of the biggest obstacles to the viability of a two-state solution. The developments are strategically used to make it nearly impossible to form a contiguous sovereign Palestinian state, because towns and villages are separated by settlement blocks and checkpoints. Settlements come with security infrastructure, military protection, and exclusive road networks. This all deepens Israeli administrative and military presence in the occupied West Bank, thereby strengthening Israeli control over the area. To date, Israel has built about 160 settlements, housing some 700,000 settlers in the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem since 1967. As Paul points out, even real estate agents facilitating these sales rarely warn buyers that the land is stolen, or that its future could be legally contested. The UN and the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, have declared that these settlements violate Article 49 of the Geneva Conventions and called for Israel to evacuate settlers and compensate Palestinians for damages. Yet Israel continues to seize Palestinian land and hand it over to settlers, some of whom commit violent attacks, further entrenching occupation and making a two-state solution increasingly impossible.
Israel is very much a party. It's a criminal party to all this because they're promoting it. Like they're allowing for the settlement. They have to sign off on these settlements before they're being built. So it's not like the private world of like realtors who are selling these settlements and the Israeli government are bumping heads. They're on the same side. The way these homes are being advertised, they look like these tropical paradises. And if you don't know anything about the history of Israel, Palestine, displacement, like you could think, I found my dream home. And you go to the realtor and they're not telling you anything about the history, or like about Palestinians who are just very nearby, you know, who have lost their homes and are squatting, living in tents, or completely dispossessed, homeless, because of this. So there's no talk of that. So you could be walking into a situation, and if you're a morally principled person, you would want to know that.
I suppose like disclosure would also mean acknowledgement, and that is not even being done on the governmental level.
Right, yes.
Let alone the bottom tiers, as you were saying. Right. Simultaneously to people buying these homes in illegal settlements, we have Israeli attacks that are forcing more Palestinians out of their home.
Yes.
And this is all happening in parallel while Gaza bombardment continues.
Yes.
Can you kind of paint a picture of maybe how that also links together?
We're seeing all these attacks, right? We're seeing all these settler vigilante attacks, and these attacks are happening in tandem with IDF presence. The IDF soldiers are essentially protecting these settler vigilantes. And the IDF obviously is the state. There's some kind of, as I put it here, some kind of coordination between the IDF, the vigilantes, settler vigilantes, and the government to systematically go to Palestinian lands, to intimidate them, to attack them, to essentially scare them off the land. So these private enterprises, these developers, can come on and start building these developments. There's no question that those settlers are motivated by like a searing hatred. There's no question, but I'm wondering whether these corporations are exploiting that for like material gain. That has been documented in places like Jenin and East Jerusalem and Hebron, where the settler attacks have been, developments go up. And because these settler attacks are just happening so much more often, and the developments are going up so much more often, there must be some kind of system in place for them to work.
As Paul says, these settler attacks aren't random. They create the conditions that make Palestinian land easier to seize, clearing space for new developments and new buyers. Settler violence and government-backed displacement go hand in hand with the business of real estate. Because once Palestinians are pushed out, the next step is to market and sell their land as a dream home to someone abroad. In the US, auctions and real estate expos have become a major channel for marketing homes in Israeli settlements. Here's an agent pitching to potential buyers in a webinar.
Where do you want to live? So what I recommend to people is a little exercise where they close their eyes and they try and picture what they see when they walk out of their door of their house, the door of their building. What do you see? Is it an urban setting with a lot of buses and malls and schools, or is it more suburban? Are you living by the beach? Are you living up north? What do you hear? Is it mostly English? It's a mix of English and Hebrew. These are all things that you need to think about, because this is really an opportunity for you to start a new chapter of your life. So really think through what lifestyle you want.
These events are exclusive to Jewish Americans, and the settlements are showcased through polished slideshows, videos, and 3D renderings. The organizers emphasize lifestyle benefits while omitting that the land is occupied and considered illegal under international law.
Yes.
So your investigation spans before October 7th to present day.
Right.
Along this journey, did you notice any differences? Were real estate agents and networks more open to speak with you the deeper into the war things got? Were they a bit more secretive?
All I can say is that with this one company that were involved in putting on these conferences in North America that got a lot of attention, that were promoting the sale of illegal settlements, is that they seem to like be hosting a lot of webinars online on how to purchase a home, how to protect your home legally. I did notice in the rhetoric that they were using in these webinars that there was a lot of talk about there's never been a better time. If you could believe that, like with everything that's happening, there's never been a better time to move to Israel. And I think that kind of connects with what I was saying earlier, because I went to some of these webinars, or I would get, sometimes they would send a link. If you missed it, you would be able to watch these webinars after the fact, and you would have some of the speakers saying we're in a very precarious position. The Jewish diaspora is the Jews outside Israel are in a very precarious, dangerous decision. Now would be the time to leave. The U.S. North America, mostly these were Western countries they were talking about, and by in Israel, and they would always kind of give this talk about, I've never been happier, I never regret my decision. They would go into personal details about family life, how happy, their children are in this new environment, and how they're trying in their own friendships and stuff, trying to encourage their own friends wherever in some American city to do the same. So it's almost like we're here to save you. That I would say is a definite difference. In these webinars, there was this kind of saviorism, like we can protect you from the anti-Semites, we can protect you from the world gone mad. That's, as they basically presented it.
Safest place for Jews right now, the funny thing is in Israel.
Yes. Truth be told, yes.
Even for your children's education, for everything. The safest place for them is over here.
And once a purchase is complete, is there any guarantee for a buyer that the house they purchased on a stolen land would not be confiscated in the future? Paul was curious about this and spoke to another real estate agent via email.
I was asking him, what's going to happen at a future date? Can my land be confiscated, and can you put a clause in that? And this was his reply. So they are aware, that the international community recognizes what they're doing as illegal, but they are totally indifferent to it. It's so unfortunate, but within this closed universe of Israeli law, everything they're doing is legal. I remember once this person also connected me with another lawyer who said something along the lines that, yes, in the very rare event that your home would be confiscated, the state would compensate you materially, something like that. But that's all he was able to say. Whether that would even actually happen in real life, it's questionable, because you're dealing with unprincipled people. You know what I mean?
While the world has its eyes on Israeli bombardment in Gaza, this system in the occupied West Bank runs unchecked. About 2.8 million Palestinians live under Israeli control in the occupied West Bank, where daily movement is heavily restricted. Since the outbreak of Israel's military campaign in Gaza last October, violence in the occupied West Bank has escalated, killing over 500 Palestinians, including 133 children, as documented by the UN and investigative reporting from The Intercept. And alongside the illegal settlements built by Israel, there are also smaller, makeshift communities built without official Israeli government approval by settlers. These are known as outposts. In 2023, settlers created 26 new illegal outposts, and in 2024, at least 14 additional outposts were built. For Palestinians, these settlements and outposts mean violence, displacement, and erasure. But for investors, it means opportunity. It raises the question, how long can a project built on displacement and dispossession be normalized as business as usual? Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Ezgi Topar, and this was In the Newsroom. This was a TRT podcast production. This episode for In the Newsroom was produced by me, Ezgi Topar, and was edited by Nasrullah Yilmaz. Executive producer, Nasra Umar Buhwana. Our production team also includes Khalid Selim, Mujtaba Shamil Ölmaz, and Afsal Ahmed. Thanks for listening.